everybody. Can you hear me okay? Forgot to check the microphone as I just banged it against everything. Hey, everyone. So, as you might have noticed, Jared is not here with me yet, but he will be. He is coming. He is running up the steps right now, probably as we speak. So, not to worry, he will be here momentarily. But I thought I would just say hi to everybody while we were waiting. Alien girl, Amy, so excited to see you. So excited to hear what we think about the guide stones. Yeah. S. Lee, how are you? So nice to see you. That is all us. Hey, Nathan, how are you? Oh my goodness. So excited to see you guys. I feel like it's been forever. I mean, I know we missed Monday because it was the 4th of July, but gosh, it seems like it's been so long. I know it hasn't. It just feels like it. Hey, Kashi Chris, how are you? How are you? Oh, you know what I just realized? I never sent Jared the link to get on here. So maybe I should just do that real quick, huh? Might be a good idea because he's probably like, what the hell? No, he's not. He's probably like, yo, Dingleberry, how about you send me the link? Which can't blame him. Okay, sent it to him. I'm just gonna text him real quick. Yeah, we've got it together today, folks. At least I do. Got it together. That's right. Oh my goodness. Emailed you the link. Okay. Eek. Hey, Enzo, what is up? How are you, buddy? So nice to see you. Thanks as always for the tea and cake. You know I enjoy it. Nathan says hi to Jared. Well, we will tell him when he gets here. I love your work. Want some more Terra Preta? I know. It's interesting stuff. Hi from Martin News. Hi, Martin News. How are you? Hi from Lynn. How are you? Hey, Chris. I know we already said hi, but you said hi so many times, I just felt like I should say it again. Let's see. Oh, yay! You got your Rebellious Ufology merch. That's so exciting. Well, hopefully you enjoy drinking out of the mug as much as I do. It's great. Did you get the orange one? Hopefully it's the good one. Yay, Amy! So happy to see you. All right, let's see. Who else do we have? Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh, that stupid thing. It does it. StreamYard. Okay. Hey, Paul, how are you? So nice to see you. I should say good morning to you all the way down in Australia. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Run, Jared, run. Ivan, how are you? Well, what's up from the Texas Panhandle? Hey, how's it going? Nice to see you here. Hi, Vincent. How are you? Long time no talk. Thank you. So do you, Chris. You look gorgeous as well. I mean, that hair, how do you get it to stay like that? Anonymity, what's up? How are you? So nice to see you here. Hi, Ange. How are you? So nice to see you as well. Oh my goodness. Keeps doing it. Dizzy Me, what's up? So nice to have you here as well. Oh my gosh. You guys, it just feels like it's been way too long. Way too long. And it's just been crazy. Crazy. My life. Has your life been crazy? Has it been a crazy summer for you too? It feels like it's just been really, really strange. Hey, CV, what's up? How are you? CV is present. Thank you. Jared, hurry, Jared. Yeah, I don't know if he's listening to us, but hurry up, Jared. No, I'm just kidding. We can hang out. We can chat for a little while, right? Robert Evans sharing. Thank you so much, Robert, and thank you so much for being here. So nice to see you. Cray for you too. I know it has been crazy for you as well too, Chris, right? You've had a busy one. What about the rest of you? I blame all bad things on CERN now, Enzo says. That seems to be the going trend. Is that what it is? That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Poor CERN. They're just trying. They're just a bunch of little scientists trying their hearts out, trying to figure out quantum physics. I mean, but I hear you. Should we open up a black hole? Should we? Maybe not. Well, maybe they won't. Have they tried already? I know they were trying, but I don't know if it was at CERN or if it was somewhere else. Crazy. And then we have the guide stones being blown up. It's just crazy all over the place, guys. I don't know. What's the world coming to? What is the world coming to? Well, I tell you what. We have some really fun things to talk about today when Jared gets here. We're going to catch you up on what we've been up to because Jared came here for a visit. Yay, that was so much fun. We had a great time, and we'll tell you a little bit about what we did. We'll give you some sneak peeks of kind of what we were up to. And then we're going to talk about some archaeology, like some news, some things that are in the news, new archaeological finds that are really exciting. And I think you guys will like it. You will like it. Hey, Angel Wings, how are you? So nice to see you here. Hello, my flock. How are you, Sarah? So nice to have you here as well. And then what we're going to do after we talk about the news, so we've got two articles that we each picked one out, and they just so happen to go very well together. But we're going to talk about those two things, and then we're going to relate it to some of our favorite sites that we all kind of know and love. Go back, Tepe. Anyone? Chris? Anyone? Yes. Bloated too, Akashi Chris. I'm blaming CERN. Oh, can we blame that on CERN? Yes, please, and thank you. That will be happening. Yes. Anytime I'm bloated, it'll be like, oh God. Ugh. CERN is the worst today. Ugh. The Tepes. Yes, the Tepes. Yes. I feel like you every time I say Tepe. I missed you too. I missed you guys too. Oh, it's been so much fun. But I have missed you guys. Yes. It's been crazy, and it's still going to be crazy to come. Oh my gosh. But hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to have a few weeks of like breather time where I'm going to be able to get some of these videos together so I can get them out. And I hope you guys are going to like them. I hope you'll like the new kind of format that I'm doing for these videos. And then, I mean, we'll keep doing the live ones too. Obviously, I'll keep doing the ones with Jim. I'll keep doing the ones with Jared. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And then Jared's coming back here in September. And maybe Chris. Maybe. We'll see if we can get her out here. I mean, CERN differences, weird reality. Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be something, right? Something weird. Where's my dog? That's a good question. I'm hoping she's with one of the kids. The old one, he's right over there. So you may hear some craziness. Like, he has this thing lately where he just decides that in the middle of sleeping, he needs to get up and start yelling at everyone and everything. Just jumps up out of nowhere. It's crazy. It's crazy. What? Was the what to Chris coming here maybe? Or the what to the dog not being here? Both are shocking. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Oh. What? I'm sorry, Nathan. What? Are you sure this happened? Somebody that I know of died months ago was all of a sudden alive again as if it never happened? How in the world does that happen? So were they not actually really dead? I mean, clearly they weren't actually really dead, I'm assuming, or, you know, crazy. I'm trying to understand this. Oh, I have some news. Enzo spent Saturday with bottled water. YouTube crossovers are a new thing nowadays. They are. It's really fun. Reality shifted. I was waiting to hear about the funeral. Wow, that's great. But it never happened. Maybe they just didn't have a funeral. Are you sure that he's like actually alive? Maybe just something. I don't know. I got to see. My brain is going to rationalize that and figure out something. But not the first time we've noticed this. Wow. Maybe you're psychic. Maybe I wonder if they're going to die soon. Let's hope not. Let's hope that's not the case. But anyways, some news. So I just got back from Ohio like 2 days ago, literally. I got back on Wednesday. No, that was yesterday. This is where my brain's at, people. So we'll see. We'll cross your fingers for me tonight. I'm going to need it. Maybe he was only mostly dead. To Blythe. Who knows that reference? Yeah, Enzo does, because I just played off of his reference. Chris does. So I was in Ohio recently, and in Fairborn, Ohio, where we were hanging out one afternoon, they were having this huge block. They call it a block party, but it was like a town-wide block party. But anyways, I went to high school in Fairborn too, graduated, and there's this shop. And I don't know how old it is. I remember seeing it for the first time maybe like 5-ish years ago. And it's an oddities shop. Guess what I found there? Do you want to hear? Or do you want to see? Do you see her? Do you see her? Well, David Hurley, Mr. Hurley, thank you so much for saying that I look marvelous. Aren't you so sweet? I'm sure you do too. Mr. Hurley is at a gig right now. He should be playing his guitar, but maybe they're taking a little bit of break. Oddities, yes. Oh, they have all kinds of crazy things. What's really funny is they have some dirt, like bottled dirt from the Danvers, like old asylum, which is here in Massachusetts. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, that's not far from where I am. But look who we have. We have a new friend. Do you guys want to see her? Of course you do. Why wouldn't you? This is Lady Marie. Now, there is a crazy story behind Lady Marie. I'll put her away for those of you that are a bit squeamish about haunted dolls. She's been very sweet. We've had no issues. I put her back here. I got Lily up there with her. So she's got a playmate. They're going to be friends, right? So there's the story. I'll share it with you since we have some time. Okay. Lady Marie was owned by this elderly woman, and her husband had passed away, and they were from a very wealthy family. Hey, Will, how are you? Hello, Bradley. How are you? So nice to see you once again. Thank you, Ange. Lady Marie. Lady Marie. Haunted dolls are the bomb. Yes. Love those haunted dolls. Yes. Okay, so you guys want to hear the story? So she was owned by a very wealthy woman, and her husband had passed away. And when her husband passed away, the family reported that, and the shop owner knows the family, so this comes directly from the family. She locked herself in her room. She surrounded herself with all these dolls. Evidently, she had a massive doll collection. Surrounded herself by all these dolls every single day. And the staff, because like I said, they were very wealthy, the staff would hear her having conversations with these dolls. And when the staff would come in, they would report from time to time that the dolls would be in different places. But again, the woman was awake during the day, so okay, I can explain that one away, right? But in the morning, when they would go to wake her up, the dolls had all been spread out throughout the room, right? In the morning, every morning when they went to go wake her up, the dolls would all be in one corner of the room where they were all facing her, where they could see her sleeping. Until the day she died, this continued to happen. She just locked herself in, talked to no one but the dolls, really. So then when she passed away, the family did an estate auction, and they auctioned off a bunch of her belongings. However, the dolls, this massive collection of dolls, none of the dolls sold at auction. Okay, you might say, well, dolls are creepy. There are people who will buy them, right? So why did none of the dolls die at auction? Or die. What am I saying? Sell. None of the dolls sold at auction. So they put all of the dolls in a storage container for years and kind of forgot about them till the granddaughter came along, and she remembered about the dolls in the storage container, and she was trying to get rid of these dolls and just could not figure out what the heck to do with the dolls. So she knew the owner of the oddities shop, and she just donated all of the dolls to the shop. She literally said, just take them away from me. And so that's how the dolls ended up in the shop. Now, Lady Marie was the only one that was upstairs. Evidently, I didn't know this about the shop, and I'm going to have to look into it because we didn't have much time left, or I didn't have much time left in Ohio to really look into this. But evidently, she does tours under the basement or in the basement, and the rest of the dolls, she said, there are so many dolls, it's unbelievable. The rest of them are in the basement. But perfect timing, because guess who just showed up? Jared, how are you?
Hey, I am good.
Good.
I think I am going to do one more non-magical movie moment thing and adjust the volume because apparently right now Lynn is here in my studio. She is so loud. It's a loud Lynn.
Hello. It's always a loud Lynn. You've met Lynn in person. It's usually a loud Lynn.
This is a true state. Yeah, that's actually true. I apologize to everyone for being late. And,
no worries.
So where are we at?
I was telling them about my newest purchase that I got at an oddity shop in Ohio. My newest haunted doll, Lady Marie. And I told them, she's right behind me. She's looking at you, Jared. She's like, she's over my shoulder here. And I was telling them the story of the crazy old lady who owned her. So, and I literally just finished up the story when you came on.
Well, all right. So besides
hard-hitting news.
Yeah. So besides me being 15 minutes late, apologize. We have, or since you've covered Psycho Doll, does everyone have so our new show is to be late. That's it.
To
So,
be late. Yeah,
uh, did you do an intro?
I did not. Because I didn't want to just do my intro. I would feel bad about that because I would be like, I'm not hogging the spotlight. So I literally just came on and I started talking and I told them you were going to be late. I said hi to everybody. We had a little chat. Sorry you
Hey,
missed it.
everybody. So on that, I should move out of private chat. Hello, everyone.
Mhm.
Oh, I can see everyone there. Hi, Nathan, and Ange, and we
Use your
could
words,
also.
Jared. It's okay. That's what Nathan says.
So, we're going to talk a little news.
Hmm.
We are going to talk a little more because we haven't talked about how we all got together at America's
Yes.
Stonehenge.
Yep.
And what else are we covering?
Then after I kind of went through this as well, and then after that, we're going to weave our web and say, how do these new findings relate back to some of the sites that we all know and love?
And we are or are not touching that we're both happy with. Or do we just end? Do we just start and end with we're happy that George Guidestones blew up?
Yeah.
Okay, we're done with that. Moving on. Bam.
Succinct. I like it.
Yeah. So are you leading off on this? So for everyone listening, we are going to try to get reminders out there for those of you that stay for the whole time. You get those participation stickers, but
Mhm.
at the same time, we want to honor the YouTube slight. Where are we going? What are we doing? We are going to be casual about it, but the format, at least so you have a idea of when to go get food ready or heated or not carry us by phone into the kitchen or whatever.
Yes.
That's the format. So we're going to go ahead tonight and at least give everyone those heads up every now and then. And right now it's going to be stories
Yes.
about some
Our adventures.
stuff. Yes. Go
Yes,
for
but we should clarify this. Thank you, Enzo, because Chris was confused about this as well. That America Stonehenge, not the Georgia Guidestones. We went to America Stonehenge in New Hampshire. The Georgia Guidestones, which
Went
they
to
also call America Stonehenge,
hell.
was the one that was blown up, not the one in New Hampshire.
Yeah. Again, I've casually spoken about those stones forever, but yeah, we'll again, what human being has the hubris to throw out how many humans should be on the planet when they don't even know how many species and animals and bacteria live on it on a daily basis? I can't even get there. Which really does bring us back to the news. This is how little humanity knows. We're starting with the
True.
news, right?
No, we're starting with our adventures.
Don't listen to me, everyone. Hi, Akashi.
That's okay. You got here
Chris.
quickly. You were rushing. We're all here for you, Jared. Take a deep breath. Relax.
Oh, we're
It's
in a
okay.
giant digital trust circle. I can feel the ones and zeros.
Send
Hugging.
your love to Jared, everyone. Send him some healing energy.
I feel like I should dodge right now. I don't know. So, all right, we're talking about adventures. Lynn, what's your first and favorite thing that you want to talk about adventures as far as what we did?
Okay. I really love, I loved America's Stonehenge. I always do. I used to live very close to it. But my favorite adventure included Michael from Dark Hour Paranormal when we went to the Upton Chamber. And for those that were asking, who asked where the dog was? Somebody spurred this on. She's here making noise. So if you hear any
Oh, I'll look.
in the back, that's Lulu.
Oh,
Anyways, so I have some pictures. I brought some up that we can share with the class if you'd like. So the Upton Chamber. The Upton Chamber is a really interesting place. And should we just tell a little bit? Because we're going to do stuff on these things. So I don't want to give away too much information. Right?
yeah.
Okay. So it pretty much all of the places that we went to, I can think of at least the three, and then you and Michael went to another place, but we're all stone based. Because even
Yeah.
the stupid one, the one that the one I'm talking about, that's stone based too. So anyway, I have some pictures. So the Upton Chamber. Okay, so this is the Upton Chamber here. It's just kind of and the pink, I think it's just the sunlight coming through the trees. It's not like there was pink paint splattered all over the place. It looks weird.
Or it looks like quartz, so that's good that you pointed out because it does kind of give a false sense of like something special right there.
Right. But no, it's just dirt color and stone color in reality. and then like tree color. Tree color. So, anyways, this is the Upton Chamber. It's very deceiving. When you're there, you go in, you do have to like scrunch down, especially if you're Mr. Not Aliens, who's super tall. You do have to scrunch down, and it's a little claustrophobic for about, how far is that? 10 feet?
12 feet. Yeah, you're right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the length of it is, the length of it 14 feet. It's big. It goes under the ground, guys.
Well, the entrance just going in is 10 feet. And then the actual diameter of oh boy, I bet the inside diameter is at least 10.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I was able to stand up. Michael was able to stand up. Jared might have been able to stand up, but probably
Not into
did
those
not want to.
spiders.
No.
And we're not talking friendly spiders. We're talking about the kind that definitely give you or hurt you or put you in the hospital and you end up on the news with somebody eating your skin spiders.
Yeah, they were huge. They were absolutely huge. So yeah, and it's beehive shaped on the inside, and nobody really knows who built it. But that was a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
let's see. I think I have another picture from there too. Yep, keep going.
Oh, no. If you're going to bring up the other picture, I think what's really important about it is.
Well, this is just the fun one. Here we are.
Oh, great.
Is that before we went in or after? I can't remember.
It was after we're staring at the sun.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's right. And Jared was getting like spiders out of his hair.
No, but they were big, and
They were
standing in the
huge.
chamber, they looked like movie place spiders. That was.
And there were quite a few of them. Quite a
Yeah.
few of them.
The best part was Lynn and Michael were in enough to go, oh, there's a big one. Oh, there's another big one. Oh, wow, there's a lot of big spiders above our heads. So I think all of us could have stood towards them. You guys definitely were able to stand probably more towards the sides, but the other
Yeah,
problem
because
with
we were both forward.
you should tell them about the how that the floor is pretty muddy.
It's not even muddy, it's watery, basically. It's like there are a bunch of like sticks and logs, and I mean, when I say logs, I mean like maybe that big, not very big. So you're kind of walking on all of these like fallen sticks, and I don't know where they came from. Maybe they dragged them in there because it is. There had to be at least like that much water, a couple inches of water on the floor. There was a frog in there, if that tells you anything about how wet it was in there.
Yeah.
I almost stepped on a frog.
The Upton Chamber. One of the reasons we went there is I think it relates to the America's Stonehenge. I do think those are relative sites. They use the same kind of large stone construction. I don't think initially this construction was underground. I think that was that just happened with buildup over time. I think it was above. It's currently at. The other reason it's wet is it's in a bog now.
Yeah.
It's on the edge of a swamp or a wetland.
It's lovely.
Except for the part where if you fall off a log while you're inside the chamber, your foot goes in some heavy water and mud, which Michael did,
yes.
Yeah.
Enzo, this is why Enzo and I are friends. Indiana Jones just knocked the spiders off his whip, Jared. Come on.
Yeah, I do think it's funny.
I may have made an Indiana Jones comment to Jared as well at that time. Enzo.
If I get any points back, I did go in there with nothing but flat zero tread sandals on. I was not wearing boots.
You had exposed toes. Neither Michael nor I did.
No, I was in flat Taro Mara running sandals with just a flat piece of rubber on the bottom, and I was operating a camera. So didn't knock any spiders, but I was basically barefoot in the chamber.
That is true.
If that counts.
But did you really go in the chamber, or was it like at the entrance, at the end of the tunnel? Which, by the way, wasn't the smartest move on your part. I didn't tell you at the time because I didn't want you to freak out. There were spiders in that entrance too, which was much smaller.
Yeah. So I went into the chamber, but having so chamber's a circle. Lynn and Michael are across from each other. I've now entered and stood up further, and I'm looking up, and I'm trying to film the chamber, which I have photographic evidence to support my story. But both of them were like, "Is this safe? Those are big spiders?" And
we were like, "Is it safe? Let's go. Come on."
Yep.
We went in, just balls to the wall. We went in. Can I say that? Sorry. But
yeah,
we did.
They did. And I went in. It was just. I'm amazed that the structure is, it's not supported. It's basically a flat. heavy multi-ton stone beehive construction that's, flat rock on flat rock, and there's just an agreement with the earth that it doesn't collapse on itself.
That is true. That is true. Enzo has a question. Were people living in that chamber, or was it for storage? Any signs of them having fires in there?
Those are two of our first questions going into the chamber. And one of the things that Michael wanted me to look at right away was at the far end of the chamber, which was later confirmed by Dennis Stone at America's Stonehenge when we did our show that night. Yeah. To me, it looked like a collapsed chamber that it actually continues on. I think this site personally is more like America's Stonehenge, where there might be more rooms, because you have to come down a hill and then suddenly you're in at this entrance. And to me, the back area looks like it was either for a fire or it is a collapsed entrance to another chamber that would have been, for, again, living. We don't know. There's some theories again about Pleiades and the stars. And I think that archaeoastronomy is important, but it's not, you're looking at a shelter that has a lot of function over the years.
Yeah.
So it would be hard to say that's what's exciting. Okay. What was the earliest use for the chamber? We don't know. Because at America's Stonehenge, they have a campfire that dates past 7,000 years. And between the Upton Chamber, America's Stonehenge, and a few other sites, the New England Archaeological Association has been doing some OSL dating. So they're trying to determine what are some of the ages of these places. And they're trying to do it with optical stimulus luminescence, trying to look at what was the last time sunlight was involved in some of these things. I think the problem for them, actually, Lynn, for the Upton Chamber is going to be, and if you have photos of America's Stonehenge, I think one of the problems is if it is pre 7,000 years, and if it is part of a Neolithic or Eolithic culture, well, then it wouldn't be under, when was the last time the sod was removed? We're only going to get a date to that point. But if it was like the other place, it could have been exposed to sunlight, even though it was built a lot longer. So is it pre-Younger Dryas? Is it 14,000 years old? Is it older, like the Galt archaeological site that I had seen before I met with you? Is it, they have a floor there at 20,000 years. So is this representative of a whole system, along with where Michael and I went from Dark Hour, which was to Connecticut to look at cairns and also other chambers that, again, they're not built by known indigenous tribes. There are no contemporary stories. There are, for everyone listening, there are accounts of settlers or colonists in the 1600s going, what are these things?
Yep.
So there weren't answers in the last 400 years.
And what's interesting too, and you mentioned that you and Michael went to Connecticut to see the cairns out there, and and we didn't know it at the time. I only discovered this later when I went back to the Upton Chamber the following week and was doing some research in the library out there, that there are cairns out there as well, kind of over a hill. So the entrance, if you're coming out of the entrance, it would be facing it. There are 3 cairns out there that may correlate to what you guys saw as well. So
yeah, and that's those are I don't know. What's interesting is that we spoke with another author who had worked on another book, and his thoughts are that just in Connecticut alone there are thousands. He's personally seen 45,000 cairns and ruins and serpent-like walls. So when everyone thinks of serpent, you might know of Serpent Mound in Ohio. It's has astrological and alignment solstice. That was the other reason I was in America's Stonehenge, looking at a sunrise and how it was lining up at the henge. But what Michael and I were looking at, and what seems to be apparent, is there's a general commentary that there's 800 sites between Canada and, past Connecticut, of these Neolithic large stone building people. And of that, we have one author in his book Mark is accounting for 45,000 different structures that he's seen. And these are generally a class of constructions that are ignored by archaeology. And this isn't a case of, oh, it's because they're colonial or they've already been explained. They defy explanation. They put us into Younger Dryas, and that's my opinion. But it's also the opinion of Dennis's and a few other people that and Mark, that what we're dealing with is a society that, if we discuss it, we don't have any written record. We don't even have an oral tradition, so they can't exist. It doesn't fit a narrative well, basically. In a nutshell.
Yeah.
I'm gonna catch up on comments.
Okay.
The I Believe podcast, funny.
That's Roach. I love him.
Finally catching a show. Zach, you finally caught a show.
Yes.
And
Ada Greg 1 wants to know, do you think these chambers and America's Stonehenge were Native American? Well, that is interesting.
Well, so therein lies part of the question, because obviously these are useful things. I mean, the Upton chamber, whether it was in or not in the ground, could be heated, or you're out of the weather to a point, and you could definitely keep the cobwebs out, for any of those wondering. Don't have to wait for the
spiders that are in there.
Yeah. Well, they're big enough that you could just shoo them out and give them a kennel.
You could name them. They're that big.
They were big. You could shake hands if they were willing.
Yeah.
I don't know. What did you think?
I don't think America's Stonehenge is Native American. The Upton Chamber, I think they are Native American, but maybe not what everybody else is thinking that I mean by Native American. But that's all I'm going to say about that. Right.
Well, let's just say that they were adapted then, maybe. Or do you think, energy-wise, just even how from gut feeling, you don't think they really used them? Do you think they avoided them as cursed, or or something that was bad, or bad omen? Or
I think America's Stonehenge, yes. I don't think they used those. The Upton Chamber, I think they did use, because I do think it was built by Native Americans, but maybe not the Native Americans. But this is just a theory, guys. I mean, we don't really know. There's a couple of different theories of who could have built these things. Really.
Right. The one of the theories was that, it's the brush off is that it's colonialists stacking walls and things for, they're just clearing fields for cows or farms or stuff like that. The problem is that some of these spaces were used for stuff like that. But then the other problem is, again, there are letters explicitly asking state and local officials, of the few that were available and of the comments found in the 1600s, that are asking, why are there stacks of rocks everywhere? So they have local indigenous people not knowing what they are. And granted, yes, one of the theories, okay, so it took us a few years of germs to, unfortunately, change North America and South America. It wasn't immediate. So there are still many, many different peoples here. One could just assume that no one from Europe ran into the correct native group, and that maybe there was someone that could explain it and say whose it was, or that there was an indigenous story for it. But there was as many nations of what we call Native Americans as there were, or more, than Europeans, and they're gone. and they did not all get along. So that's the other thing. It's like, this was not a nation of flower picking hippies. This was a nation of sophisticated indigenous nations. I would call them sophisticated, that they did not like each other, not at all. They were doing the same things we were doing to each other in Europe. They were just doing it with sticks.
Right. But they were almost, I would almost argue that that they might have even been more advanced than some of the European countries, or some of the European cities and or countries. I mean, we have cities in Mexico that were bigger than Paris and Rome.
Yeah, getting all the way down to South America. And I think there's this failed as you know, again, there's not a lot of archaeological permits for the giant mound that's in Illinois, which is definitely an Earth pyramid. There are other locations that have always been strange, even here in Minnesota. We literally have a city called Mound, Minnesota, and Mounds View. I mean, there's a reason for that. There's definitely a story that's not being told, and the reason Lynn and Michael and I went to the Upton Chamber as far into it, or we didn't.
Most of us did.
Yep. You went all the way in. The collapsed second. What blows my mind is no one. When we asked Dennis, by the way, about the Upton Chamber, when I had said I think there's another chamber on the other side of it, it just looks like a passageway. What I thought was really interesting is there's been no ground testing, sonar testing of whether or not that's true, and that whole mound behind the Upton Chamber looks suspicious. I mean, it could be a series of them, and they may have been, and they may have been abandoned. So what would be interesting to me is you can date a lot of things if indigenous people don't have oral traditions and don't know anything about them, and it's not because we accidentally, smallpoxed everybody away. If the Upton Chamber was abandoned so long ago, even indigenous people only knew about the Upton Chamber. And if there were more chambers behind it, that is problematic for the storyline.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's true. It's true. And
ouch. Did you just hit a guitar or something? Or what was that?
That was my arm. Why did it sound like I hit a guitar?
It sounded like something rang.
Oh, really?
Yep. Sorry.
That's so weird. Oh, I wonder if my microphone, let me make sure my microphone isn't like banging up against something. Sorry guys. Now I totally forgot what I was going to say, but.
It was about if the chambers were collapsed and then it could be somebody else's. Yeah.
Yes. I agree with that. However, Ada Greg 1 has maybe one of our other, another area we need to go investigate. The area around Anniston, Alabama has thousands of stone mounds and lines of rocks in the mountains only found in the early 2000s.
Okay, so they missed it.
What?
This is interesting because there's almost little. So part of it, I like Michael Cremo's explanation when, and I mentioned this not secondhand, but also because I've talked to him quite a bit. The idea that paleoanthropologists, anthropologists, archaeologists are not taught about existing finds that don't support a certain narrative. So if on your own you're willing to look at that information and go against the priests of archaeology, or priests of archaeology, I guess would be the way that Carl Ehrberger would put it. But the group that you only find, the school of thought is you only find what you're looking for, and Hueyatlaco, Mexico, which ties into this because it ties into Galt. Galt is a site north of Austin. Went to it. I'm going to do a documentary about it. But the issue with Galt is that it's on what they believe is a trade route of people who are building atlatls and building spear tips and things with quartz, basically tools and trading and ending up with creating terra preta or biomass that turn into usable farm soil that represents thousands of people that were living in a site that was obviously trading with South America or Central America and into the Ohio's is what they're saying there. And then dovetailing into that, we have all this stuff from Connecticut and what's just being pointed out in Alabama. Again, this is consistent with also Scott Walter's work on about Georgia possibly being the source of Maya blue. Yeah. So you have further and further farm country, which could relate to the big pyramid cities of Central and South America. We may be looking at the furthest reaches of a multi-continental, basically nation way earlier, or a collective of people that are way more active, tooling, making things, trading things. But Hueyatlaco, Mexico is northern Mexico. And this is a site that Virginia Steam McIntyre said it was probably 275 to 350,000 years old. She got crucified for that, along with 8 geologists. Those future paleoanthropologists that did pick it up after Michael Cremo had championed it now for a few decades. Now it's said to be 350 to a half a million years old. And so this is primitive people that would be using stone, using more eolith, like very small hand pounded manufactured stone tools or flints or softs, just basically everything you think of when you think of Mowgli or, sleeve stacks or whatever. But or your average natural history museum and the lineal tale of history that they tell. But these people were working all the way up through the Galt site and all the way into the Ohios, and all of that extends into Canada and extends over to the East Coast. And so it really is looking like the snapshot that a half a million years ago, there were people living primitively. 20,000 plus years ago, they were still in Galt and living primitively. And there's other places south of America. This is all true. So what's happened is they find one site that's at this age and one site that's at a different age, and they go, well, this is the only one, or this is the only one. So you never have to say, well, this is the only one we found, and here's the only one we found. And all these layers, they line up together, and we can now take all these remote sites from Canada on the East Coast of America down to what is Georgia and Alabama and now to Huaylaco and say, well, actually, no, they were always here. And the question is, are they here like they are now, where we have tribes like living alongside modern construction, or are they really lineal tribes that led up to a more advanced megalithic building society? We are again looking at primitive sites that may be parallel societies to more advanced societies. That's just a whole nother question. I get excited about this.
You do? I didn't know that about you. Wow. Just learn something new every day.
Did you hear that, everyone? I think she has enough rest and her sarcasm meter is on. Perfect. I would describe you as anything else.
So, yes, true. So, so we went to, do we want to touch on anywhere else that we went? Oh, I have some more pictures. Let's share the Lamo site, at least the one that I thought was Lamo.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Well, this was us. I think before we really looked at it too much, because we still look like happy about it, right? Like, it's behind us. That's why we have this picture of not the thing we were looking at, but of us.
I don't. There is somebody who brought up. I know everyone's interested in giants and different sized people. You know what's really? I'm going to point this out while we're looking at that photo, though, because I think that photo is relatively relevant to the point. Because I was going to bring up who brought that up. Hollis,
I think.
No, not Hollis. Oh, there we go.
Giants.
So it is a good point, because it's not just that there were giants, but here we are at a site, although you can only see us currently, but we're at a site where this has possibly been visited over 400 years ago. And at the same time, we aren't crediting not only the societies that were there, but we're also not crediting what could be different styles and races, which the giants get a lot more credit than something that I did a show on a long time ago, which does go down into Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky area. And that's the Moon-Eyed people. The Cherokee talk about the Moon-Eyed people. And the Moon-Eyed people were not because they had big eyes, but they were called the Moon-Eyed people by the Cherokee because if the moon was out, it was still too bright for them. And they were little people. So again, we have basically Lord of the Rings. We got these giants, we got knights. It varies Lord of the Rings a little bit in that we have different size people, and it's not. I really don't think gigantism is. I've always wondered genetically if we're ultimately going to find out for any of those slightly sleuthy and interested genetic biologists is whether or not gigantism isn't a defect, but just a trait from a race that we're missing.
Yeah, it could very well be.
And or again, what we're crediting a dwarfism or anything else. And it's like, okay, so are we really looking at locations where when you start getting a 500,000 years back, are we really just talking, because we have Denisovan and Neanderthal breeding with humans at least 50,000 years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
are we looking at constructions that were occupied by just humans or different kinds of humans or the
Right.
Brachus or elongated skulled people? So
Probably.
we're, yeah. Oh, what is this photo?
Yes, we should probably explain what this
Yes.
is. So this is the Westford Knight, and I took a picture of the actual sculpture that is modern day because it's a little more interesting than the actual thing itself, which is would you categorize it as a petroglyph because it was like pecked? It's like
I think, well,
connect the
see,
dots almost.
yeah, well, Lynn's bringing up a really good point. It allegedly was carved. It was allegedly a carved image. It
Mhm.
wasn't just like supposed to be this half. I don't think it was supposed to be a flat image. I think it was supposed to be, that's my understanding. It was that it was supposed to be some sort of a raised carved image that
No, I think it was always connect the dots as far as I can tell from what I was
really,
reading about it. Yeah, it's
well,
always just been like a bunch of dots and I don't know why instead of just, like carving out lines like every other petroglyph, they decided to make it more difficult on themselves.
um,
Or maybe that was
yeah,
easy.
I guess I would agree. Maybe it's just, you can't, it's unrecognizable when you're
Yeah.
there. Their idea of preservation, I'm not sure if it's preservation in mind.
Let me
Um,
see. I don't know if I can like zoom in a
so
little to show
imagine if you
everyone.
had a broken fish tank you thought you'd repair or get rid of it later.
This right
Um,
here, everyone.
yeah, to the left of the cool knight laying
Yes, this
there,
guy's cool.
to create a very dramatic image, they actually plop this thing down.
Hmm.
Ironically, it's probably over the actual grave site of something important, even though I'm joking, and that's a solid. We're on a continuous and giant chunk of granite.
Yes.
The ground we're on is just one. It's covered by grass of someone's front yard,
Hmm.
but that plastic surround is encasing what is the most awful,
Hmm.
uh, unrecognizable. Um, I don't know how to call it. It's
I
just,
well, I mean, petroglyph is the closest I can come to. I mean, that's just being kind. But yeah, this I don't understand this gap. And I was telling Jared this before we went there. I was like, this is the I'm sorry to the town of Westford, but this is the dumbest type of preservation I've ever seen because stuff still gets in there. Water gets in there. There's pollen in there. There's leaves in there. You can't see anything.
it would be worth it to do. Okay, so where this is, it's on the edge of the road, and it might
Mhm.
have been generously donated by the family nearby. It might be their actual property. Maybe it is part of the city, but either way, it would be worth it if they would just throw even a 10 or a 12 by 12 pergola over it, just
Yeah.
something, some basic four posted, can we just get it covered sort of thing.
Right. Yeah.
And then to your point, yeah, it's like open. I think maybe the theory was it would be open so you could put your camera in and take a picture of
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
You could still slightly do that, but the problem is it's accessible to leaves and dirt. It's
Hmm.
not clean. So you're basically looking at a dirty smudge on the ground, and it's supposed to be the Westford Knight. And then they have a picture on a plaque. They have a picture of them doing a grave rubbing,
Hmm.
basically, of it. And they're saying, okay, well, here's the shield, here's the knight, and you can get this grave rubbing out of it.
Yeah. Oh, see, now this is sad. Greg 1 says about 8 years ago, the plastic enclosure wasn't there and the carving on the stone was discernible.
Well,
Not
that would have
anymore.
been nice. Oh, and if you have photos and you want to email those to us, that would be
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. Yeah.
Because and I get it, but it would cost them. I know it costs a little bit more, but just put a 12 by 12 covering over it. That would be
Yeah.
more effective than this weird broken fish tank they have over it, which is still, well,
Yes,
it's so sad. It's turning yellow.
it is.
Obviously, snow gets in it.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
unless it's protected by wizards.
Maybe. But the wizards didn't keep the pollen out or the leaves, which were in there from possibly the
This is
fall. I
like
don't know.
if archaeology went to country music, there's a song here. Um, Sorry, you're trying to drink. Um,
It's okay.
okay, so we went to the Westward Night
Yeah.
because Scott Walter, America Unearthed, a number of people have researched it. It
Mhm.
indicates travel to America, getting back towards, well, before Columbus,
Mhm.
essentially. And
Yeah.
then, of course, we have Irish monks and the Celts. And
Mhm.
then, I mean, after the Irish monks came the Vikings. So
Yes.
that's an interesting time point. And then I actually own a map of early. I actually haven't talked to you about this, but I have a book from Yale of an explanation of early maps from around the world. And it was from 1960 and it was from Yale Publishing and it was by one of their in-house professors. And he was discussing how the Catholic Church was discussing travel routes to basically America
Huh.
in 1200 was one of their
Interesting.
points on one of their
Wow.
maps. And so there's this connection here all the way back to the Phoenicians, Egyptians, and everybody is knowing this. But we're going to these sites because, well, everyone is not connecting all the dots. That not only is it already, it's not about whether or not America or North America, South America, Central America was known by Europe. It's about the cultures that really were real that
Mhm.
existed between not just individual humans, but actual global society may have been much more complex than we give it credit for.
Mhm.
And I think we need to study that.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. Yeah. I mean, it's fascinating. There are stories of Native American tribes that were blonde-haired, blue-eyed. I mean,
Yep, more than
crazy.
one. And got to be some Vikings or some Templars
Mhm.
or some Irish,
Right?
and that really just isn't sitting well. Not to mention, again, rarely mentioned. It's almost like you can't do it. It's almost like we need a Billy Joel song for all of this about we didn't start the archaeology. Um,
Mhm.
and we go a list because there's the Chinese that were up and down all of North and Central and South America. They're all on the west side. The
Mhm.
Chinese fleets did make it here. It was known by early archaeologists, even some, Max Uli, the father of South American archaeology, speaks in a lecture about the known routes that the Chinese had held. And yet again, it's not common interest. And
Mhm.
so it's up to everyone listening tonight to go out and spread the good word.
That's right. We're creating
Um,
missionaries,
yes.
archaeological missionaries.
So it is difficult to see the night. And anyone
Mhm.
out there listening, seriously, I do want, if you would be so kind, if you have photos of it,
Yeah.
I would like to see it.
Yeah. If it's at all discernible. Now you can sort of maybe make out part of the sword, and that's about it. That's about it. But yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
I'm
crazy.
just catching up on commentary over here.
Yes,
That's
yes.
what.
Yeah, there are a couple different things. So do we should we start getting into the news? Because we are already an hour in. So it's
Oh,
totally
well,
up
the
to you.
news relates to the Galt archaeological site. I guess maybe. Wait, what's your other? Or talk
The
more?
other which the article or
Or well, we could.
did we want to we
Besides,
haven't touched on America Stonehenge really at all, though. I mean, we did do a whole episode on it.
we did do
Um,
the whole episode with Dennis, but really, it's
yeah.
for all of those that didn't watch it. Dennis is such a wealth of information that when
Yeah.
Dennis sits down, if you even want to fast forward in our videos, either on my channel or Lynn's, the reality is that we did not touch a fraction of what is essentially 80 years of research that
Mhm.
Dennis and his family and and the other professional archaeologists and peoples that have actually worked at America's Stonehenge. He dumped so much information on us, and we barely got any of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. He's
we did
amazing.
we did again. I have the equinox photos that I'll share with everyone
Mhm.
ultimately on Not Aliens, and I'm sure Lynn probably wants them, so probably give her those, and then we'll get that stuff up. We'll do some more finished work on that, but we want to keep bringing you our Thursday show. So I guess, right? Should we move on to news, or is there anything
Let's
else to say
move
on
on.
that?
I'd say let's move on to the news.
All
We
right,
need like a news bulletin.
all right. What do we got?
I don't know. Oh, you mean for like the news itself or like a
Yeah,
jingle?
no, you take the lead. Everyone knows you're in charge.
No, actually, I want you to take the lead because then mine plays off of yours a little bit.
Are we
So why
starting
don't
with
you talk about yours?
million-year-old skulls?
Yes.
Um, I actually haven't pulled up the article yet, but for those,
Oh, okay. Well, then do you want me to take the
uh,
lead?
no, well, I'm just delaying while I pull up the article because the reality is that one of the things that happens with humanity is
Mhm.
that they go ahead and they've made really, all of you out there watching, you guys are very much in the know and present and know that
Mhm.
a lot of stuff they say, the first this, the last of that, is pretty useless.
Yes.
And early human fossils, here's how the story goes. Early human fossils found in cave are 1,000,000 years older than expected. Now, there have been nothing, and I can't, for those of you, eventually when I see enough people say, yes, I got forbidden archaeology and I enjoyed it,
Mhm.
I'm telling you to get it because every single argument that the existence of something like this find would be found, Michael Cremo addressed over 30 years ago with a forbidden archaeology because it's about actual. Here's the thing, it's the same academia that found these that had already found human remains in the Red Crag in the Mediterranean that were 2 to 7 million plus years old. This is the same group of academia that also found human remains in layers of earth that were not intrusive burials, that were not done by a culture digging into a layer, but like perfectly intact, 20 million years old, 60 million years old. So the story of humanity seems to be that there were different human races, and they had said that there was a story. Definitely read it.
Yes.
Here's the thing. For those of you that are going to read it, Michael Cremo was invited to be in different archaeological congresses. He is not officially an archaeologist, but if you can't beat him, they made him join. He has spoken before the Russian Academy of Sciences, all of Europe. Michael's work is actually, it's a seminal work. It's thick. It's almost 1,000 pages. By the way, a lot of people never point this out, but he talks about the Rockefeller Foundation and their purpose in knowing history and people. So there's a little bit of unexpected, wow, news on
Mhm.
conspiracy. There's over 120 pages of any actual finds of Sasquatch, Bigfoot, anything that's actually relevant, like 120 pages of it.
Mhm.
But the detailed front to back work on uh, human finds that show the existence of humanity, that this find with humans being found 1,000,000 years earlier than thought. Again, early human ancestors. So
Yes.
if these are found 1,000,000 years earlier, then again, it doesn't seem off now that there's a human campfire site.
Mhm.
And the other answer on the Upton chamber is that it's really damp and dusty, and the work on it, there really doesn't, it does have a lot of patinaing. The problem is that it's been so compromised, I don't think there'd be any good testing, but the collapsed area is promising. But the way at Laco site at a 500,000 or 350,000 years old, the million years earlier with the humans here, again, Neanderthal and Denisovan are they're actually breeding with humans over 50,000 plus years ago. So between this and the other actual things that you can read about, and forbidden archaeology, by the way, Michael Cremo has a very, very dry sense of humor, and you will pick it up as you read. So don't be ready to be bored, as you will be surprised that the man is actually in writing. It's very funny. It's very serious archaeological work, I think, in bringing it in writing. But the find here is important to all of us because it's not about the lineal history of humanity. It's about us all staring at our collective wondering who, what, where, when, and why are we? And here we go with, if we believed the minimal amount of Victorian researchers or earlier archaeologists or this the last 100 years, if we were to believe, well, here we are finding ruins in Alabama that are unexpected in the 2000s, and here we are finding humans 1,000,000 years earlier. Again, it's not that they're exact humans, but the story of humanity had a timeline. So if this is true if what you're looking at. The article I'm reading off of is from CNN, which is
Mhm.
not a normal find for, I think, me or anyone who's listening to the show. But as far as this, they thought that these are ancient hominins that lived 2 to 2.6 million years ago. Well, now they're getting 3.4 to 3.6. And I think they're being generously conservative with
Mhm.
what they're saying. So the problem is that you clearly have um, a huge punch. I mean, it's ribbons and tatters now, but the story of how we look at evolution and archaeology, and again, the stories are right there when you're looking at giant megalithic ruins. It's like these are not primitive constructions. And the mud brick is primitive. And it's clear that a lot of hundreds of thousands or millions or billions of humans have lived and repaired and dealt with it since. But this is just one huge hit to the history of the world. That's what's,
Mhm.
yet again, I'm excited about that. Take
Yeah.
that, good guidestones. Meh. So uh, I think that this is a good example of these Neolithic societies that were all over the earth, including Göbekli Tepe and all the tepes that we found six. I wrote about it in Not Aliens, It's Us, and that, and then this is exactly that kind of find that we want to kind of look for more.
Mhm.
And here's a whole skull again. Remember, everyone, there is nuclear DNA testing now. We could literally have a granule, and we don't need the skull. We need grains now.
Mhm.
And what we're going to find is going to be terrifying. But
Yes.
that's in the news this week. It's a big deal. And you were going to dovetail this into something else.
I was, yes. So I am going to be talking about how, so this actually, and it kind of plays off of what you were talking about with the Upton chamber as far as whether or not there was fire inside. Well, they might just be able to figure that out now because, let me share this so people can see this. I should probably scroll down. So this is in Heritage Daily, whatever that is. But scientists have uncovered traces of fire or fire use 800,000 years ago. And again, they are being generous there. So there are these scientists from the Weizmann Institute of Science, and they have a new method which can detect non visual traces of fire. And they were able to find traces of controlled use of fire approximately 800,000 years old. Now, this is one of the earliest known examples that we have out there. So they have speculated. Oh, I totally forgot. I made show and tell. Should I get it? I forgot
Uh,
to put it up here. Hold on a second.
yeah.
So this will help in both of what we were talking about, because we were talking about the narrative of the development of man. This is the official narrative, right? Again, guys, this is a very general one. Yes, I know that, and there are other species in between. But what will we become? Maybe Sith Lords? Don't know. But anyways, this is Lynn science.
Lanine.
Sadly enough, I did start out as a zoology major. Uh,
You can see her. She's on the scale right now, but guess which figure? She's not. It's a trick question. She's got wings and she's flying above it like a fairy.
so according to the mainstream narrative, it's speculated that hominins have been using fire for about a million years ago, and that's what helped them transition from this Homo habilis and Homo erectus, right? So basically, it is kind of what let them get to a higher state of development. This is the theory, right? That they were able to use it to make weapons, to ward off predators, to cook and get rid of pathogens in the food, yada, yada, yada. But, however, there's been nothing that has been found, no evidence that we've been able to find of fire use dating back that far. So, as of right now, we've only been able to find fire dating back to about 500,000 years ago, and there's only 5 archaeological sites in the world that are able to provide reliable evidence of ancient fire use. And that is because we have been relying on discovering fire usage based on visual inspection. So being able to tell, was something burnt? Is there charring? And like we were talking about in the Upton chamber, this is how I'm going to bring this back around, is that in the Upton chamber, as you said, there's been weathering, there's been mineralizations, it's black. You can't really tell what it is. So one could look at that and say, and in fact, one did say, is this charring? And another one said, maybe, we don't know.
Well,
Science.
it could be. And then the question is, was it people in was it kids messing around that lived near the property? Was it whole different societies or even colonists? Was it a multi-thousand years of, again, some sort of local indigenous use? And then who were the original builders? Was it Darth Vader, or was it a monkey man?
I'm going with Vader. It's always Vader.
Or Paracus, or some elongated skulled leprechaun from Scotland with Celtic
Vader. It is Vader.
parents.
So, no, that is true. So this is not going to help us with that, the who built it, but it will help us with, was there fire used in here and how old was it? So basically, they were able to use this new method that they have developed, which uses artificial intelligence and spectroscopy, and they're able to find indications of controlled burning on artifacts where it doesn't necessarily look like there was any burning, but this the AI and the spectroscopy working together have been able to find it. And so they found 26 flint tools, and this was at this was called the Evron Quarry. It's a Paleolithic site in Western Galilee. And so on 26 flint tools, they found that they were exposed to a variety of temperatures, and some were exceeding 600 Celsius, which is approximately 1100 Fahrenheit for us Americans. And they dated back 800,000 to 1,000,000 years ago, or the fire itself did, the fire usage. And they also found the tusk of an extinct variety of elephant that showed structural changes as a result of being heated up. So they're making the assumption that perhaps they were also cooking their food at that point in time too. So this is the oldest evidence that we have of controlled fire usage. But this will also, using this technology and this method, we're going to be able to find more and more, which will then allow them to realize the incorrect dating. You guys can't see my hand. The incorrect dating of said timeline that we have on here, except for Vader.
No, I think it's all coming together between this and nuclear sedimentary DNA testing. It's the techniques are here where I really hope academia is ready to be wrong. I mean, I hear a lot of people personally struggle with it, teaching something for 20, 30, 40 years, and then it's very hard for them to accept that they're wrong. They're literally, there's a huge attachment to their history of teaching, and instead of embracing the new thing, they become angry and defiant, or upset and sad, and will not give up teaching incorrect data. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem, because then it causes us to not let the next generation immediately start with the foremost questions: who, what, where, when, and why. Who are we? What are we? Why? And it's really just, we're fighting too many social cues that are completely irrelevant. And for Akashi, I think that was the question about the tepes. It's just pot-bellied hills. It was just when they were finding Göbekli Tepe, it was called a tepe because it was a pot-bellied hill, and it was just local translation. But there were all these different locations. There's about 6 of them that they've been digging at for various amounts of 30 to 70 years, and they've really only made the news rounds over the last 5. Yet they've been at it for a long time, and again, it's so crazy that they're trying to call it the first when it's just there's 6 and they've only dug up 3 to 10%. I mean, Göbekli's got 5% dug up, and they're making some pretty grand assumptions.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So, what else?
Well, I was just going to say, so, okay, we've had a couple of responses to the fire, the new technology or new methodology. Curious George is saying, I don't know if I can believe that. We don't know how AI reaches its conclusions. And David Martin also says, and their funding. So, I mean, that's always an issue when it comes to science, right? Mainstream science and academia is you always have to look at where is the funding coming from. But these are going against what mainstream science is saying. Well, yours was, mine not so much. Mine is like actually helping to say, oh yeah, they were using fire back then. But I think we kind of have to take that into consideration, right? But at the same time, how do we balance that kind of our, especially in this community, like our natural kind of urge to say, wait a second, there's a conspiracy here. I know it because I'd be the first to do it. But at the same time, but also supporting, the advancement of science.
Yeah, there's just not a collective where I'm listening to the gentleman that helped found Galt and quite disappointed in K through 12 education. And then we have a collegiate system that again is, I mean, it's in when it that I want everyone to be reminded that collegiate systems are not the source of knowledge. It's an organized way to memorize things. Yes, if you're going to practice medicine, you need cadavers and equipment, and they're a good resource training facility. However, when it comes to having your eyes open for what we're looking at, you have to consider all the findings. You do have to consider funding and who's promoting the information. But in this course of obtaining a degree, it is not about being on the cutting edge of what we're finding. It's being on the cutting edge of conformity and agreement and not going against. There is a system. What we don't want to do is confuse. I think we shouldn't confuse archaeology with collegiate systems. What we're pointing out right now isn't just archaeology, it's our history. And it's the history of humanity that will get us one of these days, and I hope in our lifetime, to understand who were these mysterious advanced frequency energy, who were these people that are written about. The Hindu texts have come up a few times. Yeah. And again, every religion has something in common. They fill in the blanks. Mm-hmm. So the slivers of truths indicating gods as, i.e., advanced humans blowing each other up with possibly nuclear weapons. I would really like to know how they nuked the whole planet, how we went from a giant frequency energy-based society that was likely more conscious to basically the warlocks we are and the cool witches. I think we need to know. So these are all news, I think, items that we're bringing to your guys' attention so that you can go down the rabbit holes and ask those questions too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also comparing the stories of Atlantis and the Vedas, right? Because in the Vedas, they talk about a society that uses energy that kind of blew itself up. But the story of Atlantis is kind of the same thing, if you think about it.
Yeah. And so how much of that is, allegory story, just, tying into, but, is the Eye of Africa real? There were supposed to be 10 Atlantean cities. Again, more importantly, the Hindu Vedas, are they all pointing to this world that they were in that just had, and again, for those that don't know this, the hairpin, the society that they found that was in India that had north-south perfectly cardinally aligned streets, plumbing, indications of nuclear disaster. They've been featured on Ancient Aliens, but just so you know, academically speaking, it's been stated that area and that society contemporary to ancient Egypt was much larger. So we in the West are so obsessed with, well, a lot of people in the world, it's hard not to recognize the Great Pyramids and Egypt. Yet we have this society that's being dug up barely and more recently that's showing much more complex and sophisticated construction that's predating and also paralleling dynastic Egyptians. So something to keep in mind, that we don't, again, have all the clues on the table whenever we're taking a little window and chatting about it. it's I think it's important at this point to be able to have an A and a Z.
Mhm.
You know, a 1 through 100. We need the 1 and the 100 and the 50. We need it in 3 dimensions, and that's what's happening between the fire testing that I think you're bringing up, the OSL, and the sedimentary nuclear, DNA testing. What's going on with genetics as far as like understanding Denisovan and Neanderthal and humans and these other groups. So there isn't a lot of places that people have been stuck archaically. I really hope we're at like, hey, have you ever heard of a personal home computer? To I'm hoping I'm hoping the speed we get to these phones is not 40 years. And I narratively with archaeology, I hope we can get there in like 10 or 15. I hope we can half it. Personally, it's just frustrating to watch them. The narrative of the story, the monkeys turning into humans and the time frame that they're talking about is just, it's not. Now, it's one of the things that you guys can explore in Michael Cremo's book. Even though my new book's coming out by the time I'm lecturing in America's Stonehenge next September 24th. So we're all, by the way, Lynn and I and other people,
maybe Akashi Chris, maybe.
And Michael from Dark Hour and Gary from Everything Imaginable. So there'll be quite a few of us. I'll be doing my lecture at America's Stonehenge. I'll have tickets available on Not Aliens before I forget to tell anyone. But that will be September 24th. That's coming up in just a couple months. So I will get tickets out. So if you guys want to travel to Salem, New Hampshire, we're going to be there. And then we're probably coming up with some other things for you and I to meet, I think, with everyone.
Yeah, I'm sure especially if people want to come out. Yeah. Yes, we are.
Yeah. So I just thought that was a good time to throw all that in there.
Yes. And Anthony says, congratulations on the new book, Jared.
Thanks. It has been a long time coming with the updates for Not Aliens. Had new cover, slightly new title, probably 100 more pages, and it's all in color. It'll be digital. It'll be in hard copy, but that will be coincidentally coming out right with my lecture at America's Stonehenge in Salem, New Hampshire, September 24th, which is just not that far away.
It's really not.
We're going to have to come up with something for everybody to come join us, like after,
I think so.
We have to come up with a party.
We know a cider place.
Yeah. It's
a bit of a drive.
Yeah. All right. So we'll get something going on our sites for that too. But back to it, I guess.
Yeah. And yes, the new cover is beautiful. I got to see a sneak peek of it. It's so lovely. And I want to back the train up for just a second here, because I'm going to take issue with something that you said, Mr. Murphy. You said the stories of Atlantis. And I'm going to say, there were stories of a great flood too, before we found evidence of it. Everyone thought they were stories.
Lynn likes to say no. Oh, go ahead. Maybe.
No. Let's hear what you have to say.
No. Maybe what?
I was just going to say, maybe the stories of Atlantis aren't necessarily stories after all. Maybe they are.
I think the narrative that I want to break is the one that I, as a kid, can date myself and say, I'm watching Leonard Nimoy and In Search of. And as a kid, I'm watching him talk about Atlantis and this city and all these romantic period paintings of everyone dying and Atlantis sinking in the ocean dramatically, like in a 1950s, Jules Verne way, with bubbles and dry ice. And it's like, oh, we went against God and then melt. And then everything is, falling apart. And it's like, we never should have invented lasers. I don't, and so there's this story of Atlantis and it sticks. So when we say the word Atlantis, there's so many people in the professional world that duck and cover. And then it was avoided, and then it gets boldly brought up in Ancient Aliens. And so Solon the Greek, for everybody who already knows this, comes back way before Plato. Solon the Greek goes to the Egyptians and he's with the priests, and he accounts that they said, you Greeks are young now, but you're very old. You're from a very advanced race. They had many great things, and there were 10 cities, and Atlantis is one of them, and they describe it. And Jimmy from Bright Insight did a great couple-part documentary on the Riquet structure. It's called The Eye of Africa. It has exactly the rings, exactly the right size. It is not at the right sea level height, but we could account for that with tectonic plate shifting. But the reality is it's in a very war-torn part of West Africa. It's very dangerous to go to. This is not a tourist site, but it also shows indications of elephants, which was noted about Atlantis. It has, within the rings, it has sea and coastal stuff that indicate that it was at ocean level and it would have had ocean waters. And that is upsetting because it very much, and in the map of the world that was known to the Greeks, it's exactly where Atlantis would have fit. And so the reality is that it's not that Atlantis doesn't represent a city of what could have been of ancient origins, but the idea, which I think got stuck pre my generation by the people who were producing things like In Search Of, the romantic idea that there was Atlanteans versus the hairpin versus the Hindu Vedas versus everything that's in legend. If we would treat as Westerners the Eastern philosophies and stories with the same credence, we would laugh at the idea of calling just one. There's the East and the West. And there were Atlanteans and somebody over there in the West. I think we're talking about a very advanced worldwide culture, not maybe the pyramid builders or maybe the remnants of them, because Atlantis is supposed to have been around 9,000. It should have been around the Younger Dryas, 11,000, 9,000-ish BC. And then you add in all the years, and they say it kind of slams right up against the beginning or the end of the Younger Dryas. And is it really just that it's these 10 cities and Atlanteans, or is it part of a worldwide, more advanced society that still could not get their crap together post Younger Dryas, and they ultimately died off because of infighting? And is this where it crosses over into UFO, where the sightings over Nuremberg in the 1500s, early 1500s, and then in mid 1500s, there was sightings over Switzerland, again, of aerial combat? And is this what's resounding with us in the Hindu Vedas of in quotes, the gods fighting? So my only issue with Atlanteans is that whole picture of what it was likely really about. It's not about the Atlanteans. It's about a global, more advanced survivor group that was still in the public eye. And maybe they just, and I'm worried, who the hell were our ancestors that they couldn't keep it together?
Well, Atlanteans is easier to say than the global survivors that just couldn't keep their crap together.
Touche to me, because Lynn nails it again in seconds. I did all that to lead up to that punchline. You are right.
Thank you. This is why we get along well, right? You provide the knowledge, and I'm just here for comic relief.
So is it just like, do you think Atlantean's easier to say? Yes. Nerd. Well, I think that people relate to the word Atlantean, though, like they relate to the word DC Comics of some, or like Batman, or they just, it's a fantasy name. Yes, it's Solon. Yes, it's the description given, but it's been turned into a culture that really the only truth we have is that's what that's what those Egyptian knowledge keepers told Solon. And yes, it's a true statement, but I think we've really romanticized and embraced the name and turned it into something that, we can only speculate on, but I think we should speculate more globally and see, how does it relate to these other, again, here's one mystery that I know every now and then gets really popular in the chat now, and it's becoming more in the vernacular, is the Tartaria. And I'm not talking about, and don't go to America, everyone. I'm saying Tartaria, the Greek, or specifically the Greek style, is in, the Mediterranean, but that same Greek style seems to show up in Mongolia. how do you explain that? I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't really a lot of envious Mongolians wanting to copy Greek stuff, but so here we go. Even the Greeks said that like the Temple of Delphi,
Mhm.
Delphi was built by the gods. So who built the polygonal masonry? The gods? Or how much of what the Greeks were crediting to the temples that they were using weren't theirs, or they were mimicking, or
Right.
they were part of that fault? So again, was that what we describe as Tartaria? Are we actually going back to that global society and their artwork? Does that actually indicate a an even shadowy, more not sinister, but just mysterious origin for us? Is that
Mhm.
really that Atlantean building culture? That again, it's not that it was a build culture, but whatever that culture was, did they
Mhm.
really build quite a bit of it?
Yeah.
And it's just really fascinating. It's just not. I think that we want to keep these stories in the in the front of our minds as an origin source, but I
Mhm.
think we now have to. I think it's our responsibility to talk about it with a more global light, and that's
Yeah.
my only objection to Atlanteans.
I agree. But if you think back to what I said,
I know.
I talked about it in conjunction with the Vedas. Just saying.
No,
Different
you did. Yeah, you did. But then I thought you were asking a question because, uh, the the lost city
No,
of
I was just letting you go on.
thank no, I've been to the lost city of Atlanta. That's funny. Like,
Yeah.
uh,
But one thing I was going to say, which, like, in support of what you were saying, which is yes, I agree with you. I think that those ancient societies and ancient civilizations of Egypt and Greece and probably worldwide, I do think that they have built upon structures that were already in existence because we've already been doing that. We know we've been doing that for known history. Why do we think that all of a sudden, like once we started getting, written and oral history down, that all of a sudden human beings are going to be changing and acting differently and we're just going to use the stuff that's already there, but the people before us didn't do that?
right.
Humans, like they're going to use what was there too.
Yeah.
So I think that that's absolutely correct in thinking that that is probably something that has been done. So some of the things that we're looking at, yes, were probably built by some of these
Um,
earlier civilizations.
we spent so much time us being on the East Coast, but I'm just looking at some of the comments and Z Central Academic Agency about what's the deal with Masons in Egypt.
Yeah.
Everyone's homework for next week is to rewatch uh, uh, National
National
Treasure.
treasure.
Yeah, and
Then will you be reciting it out for us so we get a live
and and
version?
that's really nerdy. And uh, we'll do what Robert Plant and Alison Krauss does, and we'll role reverse. So I'll be like
Okay.
the nerd boy, and you can be Nicolas Cage.
Oh, awesome. Nicolas
Um,
Cage. Oh, so you'll be the girl scientist.
yes,
Okay.
I'll get the ponytail for next time. You have to tie yours up.
And then I'll get to be the cool one next week. Awesome.
Aren't you
Wait,
every
and
week?
kind of always, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I just want to point out because several people have said this, and it's kind of cracking me up that yes, I checked when you guys first said it, so I don't know. So don't ruin this, people. Once I point it out, but yeah, there are 600. I do have 666 subscribers right now.
That's going to be a barrier to more subscriptions, Lynn. Some people just want to see you stay at 666.
They might. They might. Let's get me to 6,666.
Oh, how about 666,666?
I like the way you think, Jared.
All sixes.
Yes.
.com.
6 sixes.
Yes.
Mhm.
So, what are we? As far as yes, National Treasure is fun.
It's a great one.
The Masons.
Yes.
National. I do think Scott Walter's work about the Templars. I think that there is some really good work on that. The problem with period groups and secret societies is that you have a lot of different I know I'm about to say something really funny, the pre-industrial revolution, but we really are in quotes modern times. If we count the Renaissance as modern times. And there's a lot of different groups that are still running a lot of different political games that we're unaware of in reference to belief systems and, well, politics. So there are, I would just say, a lot of small, fun histories that you can get involved with to kind of sort all that out, and what the Masons believed or what they didn't. And before you know it, you can go down a really fun little segment block of our history. But it's I think it's a bit of a shell game when we still need to sort out the big picture of who were those Atlanteans, who were those Harapin, who were the whether it's Mu or Lumeria or Tartaria, or humans literally being on the planet as they've been found already and documented 20, 30, 40, 120 million, or like the Hindu Vedas say, always and all along. It would be, I think it would behoove us to look down those paths. But I am a huge history fan, so I can't not say I'm not interested in National Treasure.
Right. It's awesome.
It's
I
treasure.
like the second one too.
Yeah, the second one's still good.
Yeah.
Yes.
It
I had a
was.
good time.
I know. There was talk of a third. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I've
I
heard.
don't-
Somebody told me recently that they think there was going to be I think a TV show. I can't remember which would be.
Oh no.
I don't know if Nicolas Cage will be doing it.
Well, I'll check.
Yeah. Check your planner and see what you have on the books.
So, do we want to talk about next week?
Sure.
Do we have anything that we want to tell anyone besides that? We'll have by next week, I will be able to tell you about tickets for America's Stonehenge and us being there September 24th, and me lecturing, and maybe we should discuss all of us having kind of a meet and greet. I think everybody would like that.
I think so. If anybody's coming, how many of you are coming? Let us know right now in the chat. Let me know.
Oh wow, jeez, listen to her. 666.
666 of them will be coming.
That would be a different animal.
That would be crazy. See, Curious George, 666. Some people are saying 666. Some people are saying 66, or Snoopy's saying 664. Oh, Crowley says, I'll try. That would be amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, especially if you guys are in the area. If you haven't been to America's Stonehenge in Salem, New Hampshire, not the one that got blown up in Georgia, aka the Georgia Guidestones. It's really cool to check out if you haven't seen it. I wonder if we could do, maybe we could talk Dennis into doing like a.
Well, last time he did meet and greet, like margaritas.
Well, I know he'd be okay with that. No, I'll talk about it off air just in case.
Okay. Well, I will say to everyone, when I said I'm going to be there doing a lecture, I'll be doing a 3-hour lecture at offsite. I'll very close. So I'll be doing a 3-hour lecture, which you guys can come for. It'll be really cool. It'll be something new and really fun. But then afterwards, we'll go to America's Stonehenge, which is within about 6 minutes, and then 10 minutes. And then we will tour the site. Dennis Stone will be there, to the best of my knowledge. And we will go through America's Stonehenge as a group. It is a 110-acre site. Yeah, you'll be able to meander off. If you want to meander off, go ahead. But otherwise, we'll also be doing a guided tour, and it should be really fun. And it'll be more chance for all of us to talk. So feel free to, again, by next week, I will have tickets available and ready for you.
Yeah. And if we get a lot of interest in it, I'm sure we can figure out some other things that we can plan to do at the same time.
Which is why we're going to talk off air. And is there any other final questions we need to answer, or we are going to wrap up here in a minute? So
let me just a couple different
stupid guild stones. I agree.
It's got a name. Have you seen the new? I haven't. I got a Space Force T-shirt when I was at the Air Force Museum just this past week. I'm gonna have to look. It's got an ancient Egypt or something on it.
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to look. It has the vector. I know that, but I'll have to look. I didn't even take a. I should have worn it. I'll wear it next week. Next week I will be wearing my U.S. Space Force T-shirt.
Great.
Let's see. Let me just double check to make sure. Enzo. I love Enzo. Atlantans aren't from northern Georgia?
I agree. Um,
No, I think we're good. I think we got. Lynn
well,
has such clean cut guests. Get Jared is my co-host. We are also, for those of you that don't know, we are also simulcast broadcasting. Is that redundant? On Not Aliens, Jared's YouTube channel as well. Jared and I do
yep,
this show every Thursday together. So thank you for
yes.
being my guest, Jared. It's been
Uh,
lovely.
well, and thank you for being my badass side host, apparently, with all the cool. I'm not wearing anything. I'm apparently dressed to sell life insurance. So,
No, somebody said they really liked your shirt. Not that
all
I'm saying
right.
that like I don't believe it. That came out very, very wrong. I do like your shirt. I'm just saying somebody did like your shirt. So you got a compliment. I'm gonna just find that right now while
You
I
meant it
just
the
like
first way, didn't you? Yeah.
what?
She don't like the shirt. You
I
heard her.
do like the shirt actually.
So next week, yes, Lynn and I, our solution for rebellious archaeology here is Jared, a man of taste. Thank you, sir.
There you go. See,
We, yeah, we are every Thursday doing live. So we want to do more news related to the story of the history of humankind, but also get us more all on the same page, but also have some fun with it, bring you some new stuff, and also, well, actually answer questions.
yeah,
There is really a lot more extensive work that was done and or is being done to try to get together some more documentary type, finished work for you guys to view. So that'll be available on our channels. But then there's also just the continuing writing and works that we're both independently doing. And that, here you go. Every week, Thursdays, you get to enjoy this on Not Aliens and well, again, we're calling the show, it's to not confuse everyone. We have Rebellious Ufology, and then we have Rebellious Archaeology.
that's right. Well, we wanted to try to find a way to kind of combine the two things. So we get my rebellious nature, which Jared also has, let's be honest, and
She
the
goes for
archaeology
real.
side.
Yes,
And Jared, which I kind of also have too. So
she does.
I know I hide it. I pretend like I don't know
She
much.
totally does. And then she'll intentionally take, yes, you will.
I told you I set the bar low. There's not a lot of expectation for me. It's just laughs. So when I say something, they're like, "Oh," or they're just kind of like, "Oh, Jared told her to say that."
Nope. You just try to tell Lynn to say anything if she don't want to say it, or wear it, or do it.
It's true.
Good luck. Be easier to move the Great Pyramid.
Probably true.
Totally, this wouldn't happen. So, thanks for joining us. Do you got anything else to add, Lynn?
No, I don't. We need to get we need to get our stuff together, people. We will do that. We're gonna get like a good intro, a good outro. We'll get some things. I can play a little I'll play a little Dave Hurley song for us if we want to lead us out. So it's not just goodbye and Enzo making fun of us afterwards.
Jared is yeah. So I guess I will wait. Goodbye, everyone.
All right, and we will be here next Thursday, probably at the same time, 7, right? Our normal time. But
yeah, normal time next week.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, then say goodbye, and then I'll play us out. Well, hold on. Actually, just talk for a second because I got to pull one up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're both going to be like.
Yeah. Well, we're again working on a cool unifying bumper. We're going to keep giving you guys a general format. We will be doing archaeological news and also again future trips. Actual live events. We'll be talking more about those, and we'll see what you think.
Yeah, and I apologize to the Not Aliens people. It just has Rebellious Ufology on it, but it's what I have.
It was subtle and intentional, but we'll deal with her off air. Everyone,
just take the U off and put an A there, and we'll then take the you'll get it. All right, bye everybody.
Bye.
catchphrase of the day is that it's true. There's no coffee talk and only one way to please. It's a shame